Have you ever asked yourself why, despite working hard and trying to do the right things, you still feel stuck in the same financial cycle? Do you go to bed at night feeling that the day slipped away, without you taking real control over your future? Do you sometimes wonder why money seems to disappear, even when you earn enough? These questions are not about numbers, they are about identity. And in this video, you are going to discover exactly why this happens, and more importantly, how to change it. You will learn the 7 invisible expenses that silently drain your money, weaken your discipline, and keep you repeating the same patterns. You will discover how these habits are formed, why they are so dangerous, and how to eliminate them step by step in just 7 days. Most importantly, you will learn how to use a simple but powerful nightly ritual, built on the phrase, "Today I respect my money," to reprogram your identity and take back control of your time, your energy, and your finances. What you will see here is not about magic, shortcuts, or waiting for the perfect conditions. It is about building an unshakable system of discipline that works even when motivation fails. Because the truth is, financial freedom and personal growth are not created in moments of inspiration. They are created in the small, invisible decisions you make when no one is watching. Money, time, and energy are all connected. If you waste your time, you will waste your money. If you scatter your energy, you will scatter your finances. Respecting your money is not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It is about respecting yourself enough to act with clarity and discipline. The way you handle $1 is the same way you will handle 1,000. The way you manage your evenings is the same way you will manage your days. Discipline is not born out of big events, but out of small, repeated actions that slowly but powerfully shape who you become. Here lies the uncomfortable truth. You are not losing the battle against the economy, or against society, or against luck. The real battle is within yourself. The patterns you repeat silently, especially at night, in the final hour before sleep, are the ones that decide whether you move forward or stay stuck. The end of the day is not just a moment to rest. It is the battlefield where identity is forged. You either close the day with clarity, order, and purpose, or you surrender it to distraction, chaos, and repetition. Most people think that the real battle for change begins in the morning, with a strong routine or an extra burst of energy. But the truth is far more subtle and far more powerful. The true battle begins at night, in the quiet minutes before you fall asleep. It is in that invisible window where your brain processes the entire day, consolidates emotions, and anchors habits. If you go to bed with chaos, you wake up with chaos. If you end your day in disorder, you begin the next one already defeated. Neuroscience reveals that, just before sleep, the brain enters a transitional state where the hippocampus, responsible for memory, and the amygdala, which processes emotions, work together to encode not just events, but the emotional tone attached to them. This means that if you fall asleep anxious, angry, or worried, those emotions get strengthened overnight. Your brain literally trains itself to prioritize them the next day. Repeating this night after night is like watering the same toxic plant that you wish would die. On the other hand, if you close your day with intention, calm, and clarity, you program your brain to carry those states forward. This is why the evening is not just another moment of the day. It is the battlefield where identity is forged. Yet most people ignore this territory completely. They close their eyes with unresolved tasks, scattered thoughts, and chaotic distractions, believing that sleep itself will reset everything. But the brain does not reset by accident. It resets by command. The way you end your day is the script your subconscious follows while you sleep. And when you understand this truth, you realize why discipline at night is not optional. It is essential. The danger lies in its invisibility. No one sees what you think, feel, or do in the last minutes before sleep. There are no witnesses, no applause, no judgment. Yet these moments silently decide the trajectory of your tomorrow. A person who allows their mind to wander into worry, frustration, or distraction before bed is already handing over control of the next day. But the person who takes charge of this invisible battlefield, who writes down their intentions, calms their mind, and anchors discipline, wakes up with a clear advantage. They don't depend on the mood of the morning, because their direction was already set the night before. Your evenings are either training your weakness or training your strength. The choice is yours. What makes this battlefield even more dangerous is the enemy that lives inside your mind. The toxic thoughts you allow to repeat silently before you fall asleep. You don't have to say them out loud for them to do damage. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I never get it right, or maybe tomorrow seems small. But repeated night after night, they erode your identity like drops of acid on stone. Every time you allow such thoughts to dominate, you are leaving a door unlocked in the castle of your self-image. And an unlocked door always invites the weakest version of yourself to take command. This is the silent danger of the night. It feels harmless because no one holds you accountable for what you think in bed. But in reality, your subconscious records those thoughts as truth. Over time, they stop being passing doubts and become part of your internal script. You don't consciously choose to sabotage yourself, but you slowly program your brain to believe in failure, weakness, and delay. The human mind is like a fortress. It doesn't collapse in a single night. It weakens stone by stone. And every night without intention is one more stone removed from the wall. Imagine going to bed carrying unfiltered worry, resentment, or shame. You may think that sleep will wash it away, but in truth, it is being engraved deeper. The next day, you wake not with a fresh start, but with the same poison you carried into the night. The good news is that the same process works in reverse. If you use those final minutes before sleep to plant empowering thoughts, reminders of who you are becoming, clear intentions for tomorrow, or even a simple affirmation of respect for your money, time, and energy, you build strength instead of weakness. The subconscious does not judge, it only obeys. And when you consistently give it a positive script, it begins to align your emotions, your decisions, and your actions with that script. Every night you face a choice. You can fall asleep with toxic whispers that weaken you, or with intentional words that build you. No one else will hear the decision, but your future will. One of the most destructive patterns of modern life happens in the hour before bed. The trap of digital distraction. It begins innocently. You lie down, pick up your phone, and tell yourself you will only scroll for 5 minutes. But 5 minutes quickly turn into 30, and 30 turns into 2 hours. By the time you put your phone down, your mind is flooded with random images, videos, and comments that serve no purpose except to steal your focus. You think you are relaxing, but in truth, you are poisoning your ability to rest. The science behind this is clear. The blue light emitted from screens interferes with melatonin production, the hormone responsible for deep sleep. This delays your ability to fall into restorative rest, leaving your body in a state of confusion. On top of that, the constant stream of novelty on social media and video platforms activates your brain's reward system, creating dopamine spikes followed by sharp crashes. Your mind, instead of winding down, becomes overstimulated and fragmented. The result, you wake up the next morning feeling foggy, tired, and unmotivated, even if you technically spent 8 hours in bed. Your body was lying down, but your nervous system never truly rested. Night after night of this pattern creates chronic exhaustion, weakens your ability to focus, and leaves you vulnerable to distraction all day long. And when your energy is weak, your discipline weakens too. You spend more, procrastinate more, and repeat the cycle that keeps you stuck. Breaking free from this trap requires more than willpower. It requires designing an environment that makes it easier to disconnect. Leaving your phone outside the bedroom, switching to warmer lights in the evening, or replacing scrolling with reading, writing, or meditation can completely transform your nights. The goal is not to punish yourself, but to protect yourself. You cannot expect to wake up sharp and disciplined if you fall asleep intoxicated by endless microstimuli. Your evenings are sacred. They should be a time of closure, clarity, and restoration. Every night you spend lost in digital noise is a night you surrender to weakness. But every night you disconnect intentionally, you reclaim power. The decision is simple but profound. You can fall asleep feeding distractions, or you can fall asleep building discipline. Another hidden danger of the night is the weight of unfinished tasks. You may not realize it, but going to bed with open loops, incomplete projects, unresolved problems, or tasks left hanging drains your mind silently. The brain does not let go of what is incomplete. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency of the mind to hold on to unfinished work. replaying it again and again in the background. When you go to sleep with unresolved thoughts, your brain does not rest. It keeps trying to process what was left undone, generating a constant low-level noise. You wake up already tired, carrying yesterday's burdens into today. This is why procrastination rarely begins in the morning. It begins the night before, when you choose to leave things unfinished without giving your brain closure. The tragedy is that this becomes a silent habit. Each night you tell yourself, "I'll handle it tomorrow." And while that phrase feels harmless, it is programming your brain to accept delay as normal. Over time, you stop trusting yourself. You weaken your sense of discipline, not because the tasks are impossible, but because the habit of postponing decisions becomes your identity. It's not the unfinished work itself that destroys your consistency. It is the pattern of tolerating incompletion. The solution is simple but powerful. Always close your day with intentionality. Write down the tasks that remain. Identify the first step you will take tomorrow, and declare the day closed. This small act tells your brain, "We are in control." Nothing is being ignored. Everything has a place. By doing this, you release mental tension and allow your mind to rest. When you start the next day, you no longer carry the weight of yesterday's chaos. You wake up knowing exactly what needs to be done, with clarity and energy. This is the power of closure. Without it, you drift into each day already scattered. With it, you step into each day with direction. Remember, procrastination is not born out of laziness, but out of failing to close the loops of your life. And once you learn to close them at night, you break the cycle of weakness and replace it with the cycle of strength. One of the most powerful truths about discipline is that it is not forged in moments of high energy, but in the quiet repetition of small actions when you least feel like doing them. Many people believe that habits are formed when motivation is high, when you feel inspired, strong, or ready to change. But neuroscience shows the opposite. Real, lasting habits are built in moments of low willpower. When your emotions tell you to quit, but you choose to act anyway. That choice is where the brain rewires itself. Think of discipline as a muscle. You don't grow stronger by lifting weights only when you feel good. You grow stronger by showing up consistently, even on days when your energy is low. The very act of pushing through resistance is what makes the muscle grow. Discipline works the same way. Every time you take action in the face of resistance, you strengthen the identity of someone who acts regardless of circumstances. This is why waiting for motivation is a trap. Motivation is external, unpredictable, and fleeting. Some days you feel it, others you don't. If your success depends on it, your future will always be unstable. But discipline is internal, intentional, and consistent. It doesn't ask how you feel, it asks who you are. And every time you act without waiting for the perfect conditions, you answer that question with strength. The night is the perfect training ground for this. At the end of the day, when you are tired, distracted, and tempted to give in, you have the opportunity to practice discipline at its purest. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be as small as writing down your intentions, reviewing your day, or putting your phone away. These micro actions, repeated consistently, are like silent workouts for your mind. You are teaching yourself to act when it would be easier not to. And this is why discipline at night is so transformative. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you become. Each small act of repetition builds a new identity, one of strength, control, and consistency. Discipline is not about emotion, it is about system. And the system you build at night is the one that carries you through the challenges of the day. But what happens when you do the opposite? When you go to bed night after night with frustration? Over time, you train your nervous system to believe that frustration is normal. The brain, in its need for efficiency, adapts to whatever you repeat. If you end your day angry, disappointed, or feeling like a failure often enough, your subconscious begins to set that as your emotional baseline. This is what psychologists call the emotional set point. The danger is that once your brain adopts frustration as normal, it will unconsciously pull you back to it, even when things improve. This is why so many people sabotage themselves. Just as they start to make progress, they unconsciously look for ways to return to the emotional state they are accustomed to. Success feels uncomfortable because it doesn't match their identity. Failure feels familiar, so they return to it. The cycle is one of the most destructive forms of self-sabotage. It's not that people don't want to improve. It's that their nervous system is addicted to the emotions of defeat. And every night they go to bed carrying those feelings, they are reinforcing that addiction. Without realizing it, they are teaching their brain to wake up tomorrow expecting more of the same. The solution begins with awareness. You must stop accepting frustration as your default. Instead of ending your day with thoughts of failure, close it with reflection and direction. Ask yourself, what did I learn today? What small victory can I acknowledge? What intention will I set for tomorrow? This doesn't erase mistakes, but it reframes them. It prevents frustration from becoming your identity. Changing your emotional set point is not about eliminating challenges. It is about refusing to let negative emotions define you night after night. When you close your day with clarity instead of chaos, your nervous system learns a new pattern. Over time, that pattern becomes your new normal, one of strength instead of weakness, confidence instead of frustration. Remember, your nights are not neutral. They are either reinforcing defeat or building victory. And the emotions you feed before sleep are the emotions you will wake up ready to repeat. There is a reason why nights feel heavier than days. In the silence of the evening, when distractions fade and the outside world quiets down, you are left alone with yourself. This silence is a mirror, one that reflects who you really are, beyond appearances, beyond excuses, beyond noise. And what you do with that silence determines who you are becoming. If you approach the night without direction, you drift into sleep with scattered thoughts, unresolved feelings, and an identity left to chance. But if you approach the night with intention, you transform silence into a tool of power. The night exposes the alignment, or misalignment, between who you are today and who you want to become. If your spirit lacks a mission, your mind will fill the silence with random noise, doubts, or regrets. You may not even notice it, but every night you allow this drift, you strengthen the gap between your potential and your reality. Over time, this gap becomes heavy, creating a life of exhaustion and dissatisfaction. But when you enter the night with clarity, everything changes. Writing down who you want to be tomorrow, reflecting honestly on who you were today, or simply setting an intention before sleep are not small acts. They are declarations of identity. They tell your subconscious, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. This is what matters. The subconscious does not argue, it obeys. And when you repeat this nightly, your identity slowly reshapes to match your intention. This is why the night is sacred. It is the unseen training ground where leaders are built, where discipline is forged, and where identity is rewritten. Anyone can look disciplined in public. True discipline, however, is proven in private, in the small decisions you make when no one sees you. Those decisions, multiplied night after night, are what separate those who drift from those who direct. So ask yourself, when you look into the silence of your night, are you facing the leader you want to become, or are you handing control over to distraction, doubt, and delay? The answer determines not just how you sleep, but how you live. The rituals you repeat at night are invisible to the world, but they are the most powerful training you will ever do. Think of them as silent drills, small exercises that build an unshakable foundation of strength. Turning off your phone, reviewing your day, practicing deep breathing, visualizing tomorrow. None of these actions take long, but together they form a system of discipline that trains your mind to obey your direction, not your impulses. Great leaders, athletes, and performers have always understood this. Their public victories are built on private routines. A general does not wait for perfect conditions before preparing his troops. He trains in the fog, in the dark, in silence. In the same way, you don't wait for the perfect day to build your discipline. You practice it precisely when the day was messy, when things didn't go as planned, because it is in the middle of confusion that real discipline is forged. Every time you complete a small nightly ritual, you are proving something to yourself. I keep my word. That proof accumulates silently, and over time it becomes confidence. Not the fragile kind that depends on external validation, but the deep, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you are reliable to yourself. This is why nightly rituals are so powerful. They don't just prepare you for tomorrow. They reshape your identity. Without these invisible practices, the night becomes chaos. You fall asleep in distraction, wake up in confusion, and repeat the cycle of weakness. But with them, the night becomes training. You fall asleep with clarity, wake up with direction, and step into your day with focus. The rituals are not about control for control's sake. They are about building freedom. Freedom from distraction, freedom from doubt, freedom from the chaos that keeps most people stuck. The difference is invisible to the outside world, but visible to your future. One person ends the day scrolling endlessly, surrendering to impulses. Another ends the day with a simple routine of discipline. A year later, their lives look completely different, not because of luck, but because of nightly training. The last thought you carry into sleep is not just a fleeting idea, it is a command. While you rest, your subconscious continues working, filtering, and consolidating the messages you gave it before your eyes closed. If you fall asleep with doubt, you wake up with weakness, not because your body didn't rest, but because your subconscious spent the night amplifying hesitation. Doubt corrodes confidence like rust on metal. It eats away at your strength silently until you hesitate at the first challenge of the next day. But if you fall asleep with intention, you wake up with direction. A clear statement like, tomorrow I act with discipline, tomorrow I respect my money, tomorrow I protect my focus, may seem simple, but your brain treats it as an instruction. It calibrates your inner compass to align with that command. When repeated consistently, this practice reshapes your mindset so that discipline stops being something you chase and becomes something you live. The power of this practice lies in its simplicity. You don't need hours of preparation. You don't need complicated rituals. 5 minutes of reflection, writing, and intention setting are enough to change the tone of your entire day. Think of it as programming a GPS. Without entering the destination, you drift aimlessly, but with one small command, you know exactly where to go. This is why it is dangerous to leave your nights to chance. Without direction, your subconscious drifts. It holds on to worries, regrets, or scattered ideas, turning them into the script for tomorrow. But with direction, you take command. You become the author of the script your subconscious rehearses while you sleep. And when you wake, you are already aligned with the character you chose to play, disciplined, focused, and intentional. The truth is simple. Tomorrow doesn't begin in the morning. It begins the night before, with the last thought you choose to give your mind. That choice is invisible to others, but it is decisive for your future. The mistake most people make is believing that progress comes from big, dramatic efforts. They wait for the perfect week, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect burst of motivation to make a change. But the brain doesn't respond best to intensity. It responds best to consistency. Small, repeated actions, what we can call micro-victories, are far more powerful than occasional explosions of effort. A micro-victory might look insignificant, turning off your phone 30 minutes before bed, writing down 3 wins and 3 lessons from the day, or practicing 2 minutes of deep breathing. But these simple actions, repeated night after night, build trust. They create a record of proof that you can rely on yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of all confidence. Think of it like a bank account. Each time you keep a small promise to yourself, you make a deposit in your account of self-confidence. Each time you break one, you make a withdrawal. Over time, if you neglect the small promises, your balance drops to 0, and with it, your ability to believe in yourself. But if you honor the micro-victories, the balance grows. Eventually, it becomes so strong that even in moments of failure, you can draw on it to keep moving forward. This is why nightly micro-victories are so crucial. They don't just close your day, they build your future. The repetition sends a signal to your brain. This is who I am, and your brain adapts, reinforcing the identity you practice most often. If you repeat weakness, weakness becomes who you are. If you repeat discipline, discipline becomes who you are. The key is not size but consistency. A single big act of discipline may feel impressive, but it does little for your long-term identity. 10 small acts, repeated night after night, will transform you into someone who lives with clarity and strength. That is the invisible power of micro-victories. They are small enough to ignore, but powerful enough to change everything. One of the most practical ways to reclaim control over your nights, and therefore over your life, is to follow a simple 3-step nightly ritual. This ritual doesn't take hours, doesn't require complicated tools, and doesn't depend on how motivated you feel. It is short, direct, and powerful. because it addresses the exact moments when your subconscious is most open to programming. These steps are designed to close the day, align your identity, and prepare your mind for focused action tomorrow. The first step is conscious closure of the day. Before giving in to distractions, sit down with pen and paper and review your day. Write down 3 things you did well and 3 things you need to improve. If something important is unfinished, note the first step you will take tomorrow to resolve it. This act tells your brain that the day is complete. It prevents you from carrying unresolved loops into sleep, which would otherwise drain your energy. By closing the day intentionally, you give your nervous system permission to rest. The second step is mental and emotional alignment. Spend 2 minutes practicing deep breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, and exhale for 6. This signals safety to your body, shutting down the stress response and activating calm. Then ask yourself 2 questions. Who was I today? And who do I want to be tomorrow? Write the answers honestly, not to impress anyone, but to confront reality. This practice builds awareness and direction, ensuring that your subconscious is working on the right identity while you sleep. The third step is practical visualization. Close your eyes and picture yourself acting tomorrow as the person you wanted to be. Imagine details, how you speak, how you carry yourself, what you choose to do first. Neuroscience shows that the brain does not completely distinguish between imagined rehearsal and real experience. By visualizing with intensity, you are rehearsing tomorrow's discipline today. This reduces resistance when it's time to act because your brain already believes you have done it. 3 steps, 15 minutes, a new trajectory. While most people end their nights scattered, you will end yours with clarity, intention, and a subconscious already programmed for victory. The nightly ritual becomes even more powerful when connected to your finances through what we can call the Today I Respect My Money ritual. This practice is not only about saving money, it is about respecting all your resources, time, energy, attention, and of course, your finances. Because the truth is, the way you treat small amounts of money is the way you will treat large amounts. The way you treat your evenings is the way you will treat your days. Discipline is not something you suddenly gain when the stakes are higher. It is something you build through consistent respect for what you already have. The ritual works in 4 parts. First, intentional disconnection. 30 minutes before bed, turn off screens and step away from social media. The single act protects your focus and prepares your mind for clarity instead of chaos. Second, a quick financial review. Write down where your money went during the day and ask yourself, did this expense bring me closer or further from the life I want? This small reflection builds awareness and responsibility. Third, the affirmation. Today I respect my money. Tomorrow I will be even more faithful to it and to myself, whether spoken out loud or silently. This affirmation reinforces the identity of someone who is disciplined and trustworthy. Finally, minimal planning for the next day. Write down the 3 most impactful actions you need to complete tomorrow. Not a long list of 20 tasks, but 3 powerful ones. Then, as you lie down, visualize not only your goals, but the version of yourself capable of achieving them. Imagine waking with focus, taking action with strength, and following through with consistency. This ritual is powerful because it combines neuroscience, psychology, and identity. Neuroscience confirms that habits formed during moments of low willpower are the ones that stick. Psychology shows that small victories build a chain of trust in yourself. And identity theory proves that what you repeatedly affirm and practice becomes who you are. By linking discipline to your finances through this ritual, you stop being a prisoner of impulses and start acting as the leader of your life. Every night, you face a choice. You can hand over your time, money, and energy to distractions, or you can invest them in the person you want to become. The Today I Respect My Money ritual is not just about finances. It is about building an identity of discipline, clarity, and respect. And when you practice it consistently, the results will be visible not only in your bank account, but in every area of your life. At the end of this journey, one truth becomes undeniable. Either you take command of your nights, or your nights will command you. There is no neutral ground. The way you close your day defines the way you begin the next one. If you end in chaos, you wake in chaos. If you end with clarity, you wake with direction. Discipline is not a public performance. It is a private commitment, proven in silence when no one is watching. And it is in the quiet moments before sleep that the real test of leadership begins. Most people fail not because they lack talent, resources, or intelligence, but because they neglect the invisible details. They wait for motivation, they give in to distraction, and they surrender to the illusion that tomorrow will somehow be different without changing today. But tomorrow is not created by chance. It is created by the identity you build tonight. When you decide to close your day with intention, you are not just preparing for sleep, you are programming your future. The nightly ritual of reflection, alignment, and visualization is not simply a routine. It is an act of respect. Respect for your time, respect for your money, respect for your identity. And every time you repeat it, you reinforce the truth that you are not at the mercy of your impulses. You are the leader of your destiny. This is why the "Today I Respect My Money" ritual is so powerful. It may look small from the outside, a few minutes of review, breathing, and visualization, but inside, it rewires your brain. It shifts your emotions. It rebuilds your trust in yourself. And over time, these invisible acts accumulate into visible transformation. Financial order, emotional stability, mental clarity. All of these are the natural results of nightly discipline. The question is not whether you can do it. The question is whether you will. Because every night, the choice is in your hands. You can give your energy away to distractions, or you can invest it in discipline. You can fall asleep repeating old patterns, or you can fall asleep building a new identity. And while no one else will see the choice you make, your future will. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about freedom. It is the power to wake up each morning knowing that you are in control of your time, your money, and your life. And that freedom is not built in a single day. It is built in the silence of your nights. Tonight, you decide whether you will drift or whether you will lead. And tomorrow will reveal your answer.